Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Wings channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of June 26th through July 2nd. So I'm going to get a little bit into July, and I'll actually do a monthly report, most likely in a few days, and a little bit and get into the July weather then. There's enough going on this week for me to just focus on the weekly this week. So first off, the Astrological Winds channel is a weekly blog that is a video blog that I do on YouTube. And if you have a YouTube channel, please become a follower if you like what you see, and also remember to turn on your notifications if you do, and that way you'll know when I post the blogs. Also is available on all kinds of podcasts. So if you don't want to do the YouTube thing and it's not really necessary to see the video for any reason, it's really just me talking to the camera, you can get it on all kinds of podcasts. Just look up the Astrological Winds channel. It's distributed by Buzzsprout out to a bunch of podcasts. And also there is an Astrological Winds channel on Instagram, so I post the link there also, and it is a free service. So what I ask of you guys is that you pass the link on to somebody else when you're done watching it who might be interested. There's a lot of folks in the world that are interested in astrology these days. Also, the other best way to support me is I am a professional astrologer. So if you need a reading, or if you know someone who needs a reading, or at some time in the future you do, drop me an email at matthe823@gmail.com, and we can discuss setting up a reading. And one more time, that's matthe823@gmail.com. I'll give some more details at the end on how to contact me. Now, remember, the thing I'd like to remind everybody is that if you don't know astrology very well, don't get caught up on the terms, the astrological language that I tell in the beginning. You want to really listen to the interpretations. That's what's giving you knowledge, which is giving you power, which is giving you the ability to hopefully make better decisions for yourself when you know the type of energy that's prevalent in the world this week. And so that's, key is not to get lost trying to figure out what does he mean when he says Sun conjunct Mercury, and then you miss the whole meaning. So remember to focus on that. Okay, so this week's, there is a lot going on, a good amount going on, enough for me not to want to do the monthly on the same time. And there's a couple things with Uranus shaking up Mars and Venus, and then we have like several days of the Sun and Mercury traveling together in a trine with Saturn, which will be a very, very useful transit, actually. And then there's a couple other little things, one of which was Neptune will go retrograde this week too, and I talked about that at length on the monthly for June. So if you go back, I think it's now about 3 blogs if you need more information on that. I kind of go more into detail on that probably on the monthly. So it starts on Monday, the Uranus energy, and Monday Mars squares Uranus. So this can really shake things up. This is the energy. On an essential level, on the essence of this energy is just very quick change, things that happen very quickly, quick bursts of energy, like lots of energy focused at one point at one time that can push things really forward. But it's also the energy of impulsiveness, erraticness, accidents, and in the real world it can be one of that triggers natural disasters. This is one of those triggering energies in the physical world. When Uranus is involved, Uranus is the ruler of natural disasters, and things that affect a lot of people at the same time that come up very rapidly. And Mars is a trigger planet because it's a very active energy, so we can look for some natural, bigger than usual or more catastrophic than usual natural disasters early this week. Also, man-made disasters, because Mars is something that is just like going to have people react in very impulsive ways when they get upset or angry or impatient. So if they're in the position of leadership, they can create what I call as a man-made disaster. And I think we had a good example of that already. Like Mars transits go on for several days, so we have it exact on Monday. So the last few days over this past weekend and going into a few days into this week are all feeling that Mars Uranus energy very strongly. So we had a really good example in the world this weekend when the Wagner mercenary army that Russia and Putin are using to help fight Ukraine actually rebelled against Russia for a while. Very surprising man-made type disaster, So this is a really good analogy or example of that kind of energy, that how, like impulsive energy can create that kind of disaster that's man-made also, not just a natural disaster that affects a lot of people in a very quick way. Now, when we boil that energy down to our individual lives, it's also the same thing. It's us about being impulsive about our actions and decisions, not fully thinking things out and then doing something that we quickly regret. It could even set up an accident. But there is this ability, to use this energy to make a leap forward, to make a big leap in a short amount of time where you can really jump over. So this is like the energy of a sprinter, like the 50-yard dash or something, like where you're giving it all in one focused amount of time. And, really what it comes down to is whether you can harness that energy well enough to focus or crystallize it into that point of space and time, and be disciplined enough not to allow it to just get out of control and too impulsive, and we have to be really careful because Mars is attached to our ego, so we can get very subjective, impatient, angry with other people or situations, authorities, whatever, that we perceive as blocking us in some way from acting independently, from being who we truly are. And on another level too, individualistically, on a social level, this is the energy of just protest, basically, of people going out and individually actually protesting in anger and in rebellion. This can be a very rebellious type energy, and it can bring change in. The reality is it brings change in either way. And for those who are going to resist change, they are more likely to be the ones who are victimized by some type of accident or action or something that someone else does to them that comes out of nowhere, and in this very focused small amount of time, like I said again, and brings in a great change in their life very rapidly. That's highly disturbing, but so it's better to almost seek out that change. But the trick is not to go so wild on it, so anarchy on it, that you actually get yourself into regretful situations from being too impulsive with your actions. Like I said, you really have to have some discipline, but if you do, you can take a really great leap forward. It's not an easy thing to do with this energy. This energy is really driven to just act impulsively and to push forward, and no matter what, and even if that creates a lot of chaos in your environment, in your life, and those to the ones around you. Like I said, unfortunately, there is a lot of ego involved. Now, on the same day, Monday, Mercury is quincunx Pluto at the critical 30th degree. And remember, Pluto just went back into Capricorn a week or so ago, and Mercury has reached, really going fast right now, has reached the end of Gemini already, the sign that it is very, very comfortable in. And so Monday, today, Mercury will quincunx Pluto. And this is very interesting energy. This is the energy of the trickster, the jester, the prankster, if you will. But it's not, and it's brilliant in many ways, but the intention behind it can be highly questionable. And we have to really be honest with ourselves about this. This is the kind of energy where we play with other people's minds and their thoughts through what we say to them, so that we can get ourselves in very complicated plots. We have very indirect and roundabout ways of trying to influence people to do what we want, and so it is a trickster energy, and a lot of it can come from a shadowy kind of place. A lot of it is about literally underneath coercion, propaganda, trying to push and manipulate people into the position we want them to see things, and we do it kind of behind the scenes. It's it's energy that can be tricky to play with, and so it gives us a lot of deep psychological insight into other people and how their minds work, and therefore the ability to possibly influence those minds. And that also, once again, can be on a much larger scale with Pluto involved. We could be under the influence this day, this time of the week, of things being told to us by those in power, Pluto, that are trying to make us or coerce us into seeing things a certain way. Like I said, propaganda. Really, the best use of this energy is to really look at your own self, the energy of your own self and what's driving you, what makes you think the way you do and do the things that you do, and that kind of energy. But it's not easy, it's one of these ones where, there is a lot of ability to go through a lot of psychological change, but you have to be willing to let go and release old thoughts, old belief patterns, things like that, rather than trying to coerce other people into seeing things your way. Not an easy thing. And it's at that critical 30th degree. So it's basically telling us, you better start taking self-responsibility for that stuff, or you may find yourself in a long period of time, like I said, once again, involved in very complicated plots and arrangements with people who can be very shadowy and ruthless and have you acting that way too. So then right after that, Mercury, going very fast, Monday, goes into Cancer. So we're going to have a couple weeks of Mercury in Cancer now, which is where the sun is. And Mercury in Cancer, remember, Mercury is about our intellect. It's about our thoughts. It's about our speech and communication and travel and some business, things like that. And it's really simple. Mercury is not really very happy when it's in water signs. It just really, the intellect and the water signs don't mix very well. They're kind of like oil and water, they just don't mix well. And so what happens when Mercury is in Cancer is when we feel good, when we feel our thoughts are under the influence of how we feel. How we're feeling emotionally is dictating our thoughts and therefore our speech to others, our communications with others. So if we feel good, we can be very positive, very, very, offer a lot of kind words, a lot of hopefulness, generosity, that kind of energy. But if we're not feeling good, if we're feeling bad, then it's the opposite. We can be very negative with our thoughts and with our words, and we can make a negative impression on other people, just adopt a negative, half empty kind of attitude, And what's interesting about when Mercury is in Cancer too is memories from the past will start to come up. We may, be accessing them, or we may find them easier to access, or they may just come up suddenly. And a lot of times that's because there's a trigger in the mind somehow that gets triggered that reminds us of some past memory. So it's a time when we can access our past memories more acutely than we really normally do. But we have to remember too, when Mercury's in Cancer, our thoughts are very much under the influence of how we were brought up, like our childhood, our past, how our country was when we were brought up, the heritage that we adopted, the type of patriotism even that we adopted is all big parts of Mercury in Cancer, and so we can easily actually ask ourselves, are these thoughts and opinions that we have right now truly us, or is it just something that we were taught by our heritage and by our family and by our nature, and we've just adopted them, almost just copied them, basically, not even really thought for ourselves whatsoever. The other interesting thing about Mercury in Cancer is when we decide we want to do something, or make some decision on whatever it may be, we want to see what the true value of that is first. We want to really be sure that it's bringing us something that we truly value. So the big thing this week to me, besides this Uranus things, is Wednesday through Saturday, the Sun and Mercury get together, and so Mercury will actually catch up to the Sun on the weekend and conjunct it, and it'll be a superior conjunction this time because Mercury's not retrograde. And then during this whole period, they're both going to be trining Saturn. And that starts on Wednesday with actually a grand trine. The moon's in Scorpio Wednesday, so it's in the other water sign. And the Sun and Mercury, as I said, both in Cancer now. And then Saturn, as we know, a couple months back, went into Pisces this year. So we're going to get a grand trine in water that kicks off about 4 or 5 days of the Sun and Mercury conjunct together and trining Saturn. So very, very useful energy this week, because it gives us a very disciplined approach to things. We're willing to work for what we want to do, and it creates us great planning and organizing ability where we're willing to slow down and be disciplined and take care of all the details we need to take care of. We can really tap into a harmonious flow with this, because of the trine. So it really plays to the best of our talents. It takes the mind, the intellect, it takes actually tools, and it takes our hands, and together with our talents and our abilities, we can really get a lot of work done on things that, really we should focus on our work, with this kind of energy. This is a really good time to focus on our business. It's a great time to start even new business ventures or like new things within the businesses that you have. There's a real direct involvement with this energy too, where you're really like on the ground, your boots are on the ground with it, you're experiencing it, you're learning from it, and you're able to directly influence what's going on too. Like there's a lot of really well thought out ideas, things that have taken structure that you can bring and then act out on. It gives us the ability to, even be an authority or leader in those situations, to and the ability to get help from those who are in power, other authorities, with the projects that we do. So I really, recommend that this is a week where we work really hard for the, things that we really are, invested in our projects right now, and usually through, in this society, for most of us, that is work. There's going to bring a lot of fulfillment through the focus that you put, and you can bring in a lot of new knowledge, you can bring in wisdom, and you can continue to learn from that. It's too, like I said, there's a lot of direct experience in this. We can get a little subjective at times with it, but we can really kind of take the lead too, and we can be very precise and focused with our use of words too. So like when we're going out there, we can do some good negotiating, we can do some good planning, we can do good organizing with other people, making connections with the people that we need to get things from and to give things to. It's like good for like even going on trips and journeys that, will bring us more of that too, more knowledge, more information that will help us with our projects, with our work, that kind of thing. So there's just a really great flow all week on this. It does give us like, a little bit for sure of a conservative attitude, but the fact that the Grand Trine is in water means that we're not going to like leave our emotions behind. There's actually going to be a lot of emotional conviction behind what we're doing. We're probably just not going to express that emotion like exuberantly or overly so in a public kind of forum, but like inside there is a lot of drive and conviction behind what we're doing during that. And then, like I said, the Grand Trine will be Wednesday when the moon's in Scorpio, and then the exact Sun trine Saturn is Wednesday, Thursday, then the exact Mercury is Friday, Saturday, and then they conjunct together also that time. So you can see like basically Wednesday through Sunday we're under this, influence of this energy very strongly, very useful energy, and then there's a couple other things I wanted to mention. Thursday we also have a Venus trine Chiron, and this is very, very positive for relationships. Very much getting like healing through the connections we make, the relationships that we have. We really like love bringing healing, like friendships and that kind of energy, bringing healing, and like even opening up new channels of creativity to us that once again is like a healing balm to us. So very, very sweet energy going on in relationships on Thursday, or apexing on Thursday, but for a couple days on each side. Now Friday is the day Neptune goes retrograde. I talked about that a lot in the monthly, so I'm not going to go over it very much. Just remember it's going to be like that till December 7th. It's a time when we really go inside on a personal level and kind of get contemplative about our values, and we'll see how this plays out in the real world too, because it can like really make people entrench on a social scale in values, which can bring problems up in the real world. And then Sunday is the last thing I want to mention, is that second thing with Uranus. Remember we had the week start with Mars square Uranus. Well, now by Sunday Venus is going to square Uranus. And this can shake up relationships, especially old ones. This is the energy of seeking out something new and exciting and stimulating in relationships. You want something new. And old relationships can be really feel restrictive right now. They can feel like, like they're blocking you from being able to express who you really are. So like new connections that you make are very, very exciting and stimulating, and you may, literally like, kind of get like your older obligations you may just not even live up to. You're kind of like, okay, this is what I'm really excited about now. And like I said, it shakes up old relationships, but new ones really excite you. So there's stimulation on both sides of it, but you rebel against those old ones because you're really seeking some more freedom for yourself. And this can also get us into all kinds of interesting alternative art, either experiencing it or creating it or co-creating it. Very like, interesting new kind of stuff, cutting edge energy, and also quick gains or losses with money too. You may overspend money, you may get a little too impulsive with money, especially with the square, but sometimes you can get unexpectedly rewarded too with this. So very interesting energy with the Uranus both squaring Mars early in the week and then Venus later in the week this week. So all right, well, that's what I got, and that's why I didn't want to do the monthly too. As you can see, we're running up to a half hour now. So yeah, just a week when, I think, the main thing is really working with those trines of Mercury and Saturn. Mercury and the Sun to Saturn while they're conjunct, and really getting that out, and realizing the shift that's going to occur in our Mercury energy, that the watery energy, that our feelings are going to influence our thoughts a lot right now. But be prepared with some of that Uranus energy this week too for some surprises, and taking up the attitude that change is okay, and can lead to greater freedom and independence and self-driven energy that can, propel you forward evolutionarily and help you change quickly. So, okay, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is a free service, a free video blog that I do every week on YouTube. And if you like it and you have a YouTube account, please become a follower, turn on your notifications. And it is a free blog. And I do accept donations, and I have a handle at Venmo you can send them to. It's the symbol Matthew with a capital M and the hyphen in the middle, a dash in the middle, and then Lawton with a capital Lauten. No amount is too small. But the best way you guys can help me with this free service is to pass it on to someone else who you think might be interested in it. A lot of people interested in astrology these days, so don't be shy about it. And the other great way to really help me out, guys, is I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing readings now for 21 years, 7 years of professional training and schooling before that, and 10 years of my own study before that even. So I would love to do your chart or when you're ready for it, or any other astrology service that I can offer you, or anyone else you're looking for. So natal charts, if you don't have a good understanding of your birth chart, if you've never had it done by a professional astrologer, very different than getting a computer readout or going through a book yourself, or going through, having someone who went through a book, one of your friends, telling you about your chart. There's a lot more to it than just that, and so I highly recommend that, because you bring your chart with you everywhere you go the rest of your life. And so when you understand your strengths, your patterns, your weaknesses, you're so much more self-empowered, have a much more self-fulfilled life. Also, every year around your birthday, I highly recommend getting a predictive reading. It's just about the same thing I do each week, except it's just for you for yourself for a year. So we look at what influences you're under this year, your chart is under this year, and how you can best work with that. I also do children's charts. If you've had a youngster, it helps you learn how to relate to your children well, how to get them to react to you better, and also looks at the great, the bigger events in their life, the first 20 years. Relationship charts, if you just met someone and you're both interested in knowing what that attraction is, that amazing attraction when people first meet, what brought you together. Or if you've been in a relationship a long time and you've developed, the relationship's developed its own entity, and seeing where that's headed. Also, do fixed star readings. I recommend them for people who understand their natal chart well. It's a deeper look at your sole purpose in this life, where that's headed. And also do election charts if you're looking for the best timing to start an event like a new business. Highly recommend that. Horary, if you've got some burning question you can't seem to get an answer to a lot of times, we can get an answer there. I also have beginners classes available, and if you have a group that's looking for a workshop, a lecture, question and answer session, a mini reading, some kind of entertainment involving astrology, please, all these things, best way to do is to get in touch with me via email, and that's mattthue823@gmail.com. One more time, mattthue823@gmail.com. Okay, guys, look for a couple extra blogs. I know next week we have a full moon in Capricorn, and that's on Monday. And there's a lot of other stuff I think going on next week with Mercury too. So I'll probably do a monthly blog in between the two of them for July. So look out for that. And I probably still do a look at that solstice chart for the U.S. I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet. Maybe I can get both of those two things on the same blog, depending on how much there is to talk about them. But anyway, until then, check out the July blog. Until then, I will see you all, and use this energy of this trine this week between the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn to really get some work done on your projects and get them moving forward. And I'll see you all next week.